Okay. So, Shenmue came out pretty much at the tail end of the Dreamcast's life cycle, which was sad because at the time, it was very well received, but ultimately never achieved the sales numbers it wanted to. But at I just want to go on record before I start the review that Shenmue at the time was listed as the most expensive gaming project in history. And
Oof.
yeah, it cost a fortune, and no one ever thought that a game could actually cost this much to make. All right, so might as well just talk about the story. And believe me, this game is story. This game is all story. That is what it is. So if you do not like games that have heavy story, don't bother with this one. The game starts on a rainy evening at in uh in Japan. I forget, it's Yokohama, I think, is where it's based, and it's in the sleepy town of Dobuita, where you walk upon the dojo of the Hazukis, and there's a argument going on in the dojo where you see a man in Chinese robes asking the sensei of the dojo for the last time, where is it? Where is the dragon mirror? And he goes, "Oh, I'll never tell you." Kills him right there. His son storms in, who is your main character, Ryo Hazuki, sees his father murdered right in front of his eyes. After that tragic day, he vows to avenge his father and find the man responsible for killing his dad. He then embarks upon this quest to learn what exactly he was after, his family's legacy in the end, and what exactly is the Dragon Mirror and what does it do. Now, this game is a huge, expansive adventure, and everybody in your entire town of Dobuita is really involved. There's so many characters that it's really hard for me to even remember all of them. But let's just say that you go all over the place and you have a journal. It is a sort of role-playing game. It's very, very hard to determine exactly what this game is. So we'll get to the gameplay in a second. But your ultimate goal in the end is to find out who's responsible for your father's death and where that will take you. Now, onto the graphics. The graphics in Shenmue push the Dreamcast to its limits. This is very, very, very impressive for the Dreamcast. It almost looks like a PlayStation 2 game, an early PS2 game. It's so good. And it's amazing because you wouldn't think that a CD-ROM console could do something like this, but it really does. Loading times aren't bad. The animations are a little stiff, but I guess that's what it's expected. And it's overall a very nice looking game. Everything just looks outstanding in the world and everything, except for the loading times in between different areas. They could be a little bit of a pain if you're not used to that sort of thing, but with the Dreamcast or any of these older consoles, you come to get used to it. So, the graphics overall, probably the best graphics on the Dreamcast. We're also going to talk about the gameplay aspects of it. Now, as I said, Shenmue is sort of a role playing game. It's more of an adventure game than anything. Now, it's the role playing sense that you have to find things, get items, you go on an adventure, you write down things in your notebook, talk to people. If you like expansive worlds where all you do is talk to people and find out information, that's Shenmue. Now, it's role playing in that respect. It's adventure in the fact that you actually get to fight people. There's a whole martial arts combat system in the game. So in that respect, it's also a fighting game. It's like a whole bunch of things mixed into one game, which is why it's still innovative to this day. Now, this game, I gotta tell you, is not for everyone. If you do not like games where you go around and talk to people, dialogue, collect things, get items, progress in a story, you're not gonna like this game. It's just no hard. The fighting scenes are few and far between, and it's just based on the story. So this game is definitely not for everyone. Though some people actually despise this game for that aspect, which is crazy. But other than that, the sound, the music is pretty good. Everything is pretty good. There's one point in this game where you have to actually get a job, you know, working on a forklift, which is actually pretty funny, in order to pay for money to get a ticket to China. You know, you have to do that sort of thing. But in the end, the game spans over I think it's 3 discs long, this game, which is one of the longest Dreamcast games out there, the D2, which is another good game, which I'll get to sometime. But Shenmue is, without a doubt, my favorite game of all time. This game is something everybody should experience, and, you know, I know people, when first time you mention Shenmue, they're like, oh, are there any sailors out there? Do you know where I could find sailors? Because there's a funny part in the game where you have to go looking for sailors, and you have to ask them information. And it's always lampooned, this part where he's like, do you know where I can find sailors? You know? And it just sounds so sexual, and it's funny. You know, people make fun of it all the time. But this game, it's sad that it never really got the sales it did and the respect it did, and it's sort of a cult game. It's an indie favorite, and there's entire fan sites that exist that say make Shenmue 3, even though Yu Suzuki said that Shenmue 3 is never ever going to happen, that it's dead. The series is dead. Now, do you have to find a Dreamcast to play this game? As of right now, yes. But Sega is finally releasing a compilation which includes Shenmue and Shenmue 2 that was also released in the Dreamcast in Japan, but on the original Xbox in the US, on one Wii game. It's for the Wii, and it's coming out soon. Dreamcast collection, and I can't wait. Dreamcast, this is my favorite game on the Dreamcast, so I got to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's awesome. And if you have a Dreamcast, track this game down, because it is something you cannot miss on the Dreamcast. And that's my review of Shenmue. Any questions?
Good review. Then would you rate it again?
5 out of 5, man.
5 out of 5?
Yeah, if it's his favorite game of all time, I don't think he's giving it